Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about one of my favorite combinations of exercises to add together for people with lagging triceps. That's oftentimes me. I am not blessed with the best arm genetics in the world. I have a big frame on my torso, but I have long arms, don't have the best insertion. So things like triceps tend to very quickly become a limit for me on bench pressing. Same thing for a lot of my clients, and this is stuff I've had to piece together over the years to make things work for clients of mine, because I've been coaching for quite a few years at this point. Have a lot of very, very strong lifters, and I have some Gen Pop people also. And invariably, when I'm dealing with triceps, a couple of different things come up. And we'll get into the tendon work in a minute. But number one, a lot of times guys who have lagging triceps, they've done mostly benching for their triceps. They've usually done closed grip benching, dips, things like that. And that tends to build the lateral and medial heads very effectively. In fact, bench pressing, and so that by extension, that would be things like the closed grip bench, tend to build the lateral head of the tricep considerably better than most extensions do. So it's kind of funny when you see people who are like, well, you could do this extension for this head and so on and so forth. And it's like, are you not doing any bench pressing? Right? We're not doing any benching here. For benching, at least one of the heads is going to be more developed potentially than you're going to get it from doing extensions. Okay? And adding more extensions for that part may be a little redundant and not give us the best training response. And that tends to be the lateral head. The long head tends to lag a bit, but it still matters on your max benching. But we're not max benching for size, right? We're not getting a whole lot of our muscle mass from that. So accordingly, we need things for the long head. And so any sort of extension tends to work good for that. Now, the argument is often made, and there is a degree of truth to it, that you may get a little more long head activation, at least preferentially, from behind the head stuff. Here's the issue. They're very hard on your shoulders. I find a lot of lifters who don't have great shoulder health have problems with it. It's one of the many reasons you'll see, a lot of bodybuilders, have beat up shoulders, and they're over here blaming things like bench press, but it can be those behind the head extensions. Okay. And what about people who have shoulder issues already? Those are out. They're absolutely out. Are they good exercise? Yeah, potentially so. Okay. If you have really good shoulder health, you're young enough that your shoulders aren't going to get beat up. So, what we end up with really are lying extensions of different types. And they can be at inclines, declines. I don't think it matters. You know what? If someone wants to do them at an incline or decline, perfectly fine. I don't think your triceps are going to get any bigger from that than they are from a flat. It's a slightly different angle. Can it be nice to change things up if we're getting some overuse? Sure. I've seen no real data that it causes more hypertrophy. It just adds a degree of complexity. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just that there's also may not be any benefit to it. So flat extensions, and I really like Skullcrushers. I like those in a lot of ways more than dumbbells, and I think dumbbells can be great, again, for elbows, but I really like Skullcrushers. They, for me personally, and again, a lot of my lifters, these done to the face with an easy bar, really light the triceps up, particularly that long head. If I just want overall development, more lateral head, I'm just going to have them do heavy JM press. And the medial head seems to get hit very, very hard with that. But in terms of just the long head, which then means overall development if we're benching with it, this is difficult to beat. The downside, it's a little bit hard on the elbow tendons. But that's where the band press downs come in, which you'll see me doing here. These are both from the same workout. I did 3 sets of each of these on that same workout, and those 6 total sets are what's running in this background. All right, band press downs done for very high reps. High reps meaning over 20. It could be 40, it could be 50, it could be 100. High rep band press downs are one of the premier exercises for helping heal the tendons. Now, can they eventually cause tendon overuse? Yeah, in theory. There are times when you need to back them down. Right, there are times when you need to do that, but then particularly when total work gets too high. Let's say you're doing a lot of different types of pressing and an extension, you may not have room for them. You may need to just do those or the extension, because there can be some overtraining and some overuse. But by and large, what do they bring to the table? Well, they bring a lot for the tendons. In fact, doing them before a phase of Skullcrushers can be very effective. I have found historically that when I have lifters who already have a strength base, who have weak triceps, if the weak triceps are really holding back their bench press and we start doing tricep specialization, what happens? Their elbows hurt because they haven't built the tendons up. And if they haven't built the tendons, doing things like the Skullcrushers or even JM presses or anything can start to fatigue those tendons. They start to get tendonitis, they get inflammation, everything hurts. The band press downs are a cure for this, and I find that if I run a phase of band press downs first, then I can come in and do these things. And then I'll keep the band press downs. If they have any history of elbow issues, I'll keep the band press downs in. All right, in addition to the fact that these also, again, we get that stretch reflex. It puts a stronger myotatic reflex when we hit that short or that lengthened position again. Okay, these in and of themselves can add hypertrophy. It's also a much different rep range. Gives you a phenomenal pump in the triceps afterwards. Again, a lot of metabolic fatigue, but mainly it's the band part that causes a lot of micro tearing. I feel like it can contribute, but it's that combination together. It helps keep those elbow tendons healthy. It keeps those lower insertions on the lateral and medial head, keeps the tendons healthier, keeps blood flow to them, helps make the tendons thicker so that you can handle more on the Skullcrushers. Okay? We're able to tolerate them better, particularly in the elbow tendons. And if we can do that, we can load them a little heavier, we can run them longer. So, you add these with your bench press. So if you're already benching for any appreciable volume, adding this combination together will help get your triceps caught up relatively quickly. It's a good way to put a lot of meat on the triceps. It's a good way to do it while paying attention to things like tendon health. And the combination is so good even for the bench carryover when it's all added up. Why? Because the overall tricep gets really worked by the Skullcrusher, and that long head development can really help you power out of the bottom of a really heavy bench. Whereas then we get a little more specificity on the lockout against those heavy bands. All that band work, because it's really heavy at the lockout, even if it's light enough overall to do 50 reps, it tends to give us a little more follow through on the lockouts. It's just a real nice combination. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.